Clifton-Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In 2007, the then Labour government sent a small group of cross-party members of Parliament to Afghanistan. I was one of them. In Laxagar, we were there when a group of our soldiers came back. They'd lost one of their numbers, and the psychological stress you could see on that group of soldiers was immense. So I would say to the Minister for Veterans on the front bench today, please do all you can to support our veterans at what is bound to be a really difficult time for them. We need to really look at the short term and the long term in Afghanistan. We need to look at the short term in getting all the Western people with passports out. We need to get all those people whose lives are put at risk by their association with the British and the Americans out, and we need to facilitate any refugees as quickly as possible on resettlement. But in the longer term and the medium term, this is where the British need to play a real part. We need to really have a big diplomatic effort. The Prime Minister's announcement today that he will lead a G7 meeting is primarily important, but it's also really important that we become realigned with our closest and largest allies, the United States, so that we are again operating out of the same page. We need to look at the UN and see what we can do on the Security Council to try and persuade the Chinese and the Russians not to use Afghanistan for their own narrow sectoral interests. We need to look at the frontline states, look at countries like Pakistan, how they have dealt with harbouring the Taliban and how they are going to move forward in dealing with the issue of refugees and perhaps onwards transmission of those refugees to further safe havens. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this may be a dark day for Afghanistan. It is a dark day for Afghanistan. We will look at the Taliban and judge them by their actions. But I would say to the British government, please now start talking to the Taliban to see where there is interest that we can influence those people in their behaviour. Because otherwise what is going to happen is if the Taliban start doing extremist things in Afghanistan, the Northern Alliance, which we went in largely to help defeat, will re-emerge, and then a vicious civil war will emerge in Afghanistan, and that will make the whole thing far worse. Mr. Deputy Speaker, where Britain doesn't lead with its values of democracy, of tolerance, of a good judicial system, of a free press, whether it's in Afghanistan or elsewhere, the world is a poorer and a nastier place. We owe it to the Afghanistans to redouble our diplomatic efforts in the weeks and months and years ahead to see what we can do to salvage a more sustainable future for Afghanistan.
Dugan.